Alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A greeting of good afternoon to all and everyone watching our program. Islam is the Solution, English edition. This program is live on digital TV at Elizalde Broadcasting during Mondays 2 to 3 p.m. Manila time, and also during Thursdays 2 to 3 p.m. Manila time. This is yours truly, Salem Guimba. The topic for today is a very important one. It is about why happiness is not easy to find. What are those obstacles to happiness? What are those factors acting as hindrance to happiness? These are the questions that we would like to answer through our lecture. Just stay put, and we will give you the detail of why happiness is not easy to find. If we look into the Western and European communities, according to studies, according to the European statistics, it is alarming today, the increasing rate of suicidals in those countries, European and Western communities. It only shows that those people are committing suicides because they are not happy. Because if you are happy, you will not commit suicide. We will now try to find out what are those people trying to strive into to find happiness. First, they try to find happiness, and because they believe that this is the way to happiness, they try to find happiness through wealth, accumulation of wealth. They believe that money can bring happiness. And they try their best every day to gather more wealth, to gather more money, in the thought and believing that money can bring happiness. But the more the money is coming in, the more they realize that they can easily buy fun, play, amusement, enjoyment. Yes, you can buy those things with your money, but not with happiness. So they are realizing those things later in life, that in spite of being abundant with money, in spite of their being progressive with material prosperity, still they are not happy. Every after work, every day, instead of going home directly, they have to go to beer house because they do not find happiness at home. And when you cannot find happiness at home, that you have to go out in the search for happiness, then there is something wrong. Something wrong in your understanding for happiness. Then number two, people are trying to find happiness through political power. They believe that if you become a political leader with the enjoyment an advantage of the political power, you can be happy. And so they try it, entering politics. They become municipal mayor or city mayor, and the burden is increasing every day. Then still they cannot find happiness. Then they are upgrading their political position, and they are upgrading their level of power, and they move on to governorship, and still there is no happiness, my friend. The more the burden, the more the power, then the temptation of the enjoyment of power is irresistible. And because of this irresistibility of political power, they move on forward. They become congressmen, lawmakers, then upgrading into becoming senators, then finally becoming a president of a country. And at the top of political power, they realize that life at the top is lonely. You are alone, and life is not happy. The more the power that they gather with their political struggles, the more the unhappiness. Next, people try with academic degrees in their career, academic career. After finishing one bachelor degree, they move on to postgraduate studies. They try to proceed to master's degree, thinking that by improving their academic degrees, happiness follow. But of course, after finishing a graduate studies in masteral, then they are tempted to move forward and finishing a doctorate degree. And after finishing one doctorate, moving to another one, moving forward to another doctoral. So, endlessly trying to find happiness. And the more you are trying to find happiness, the more you are finding enjoyment, play, and amusement, not happiness. So people are realizing it today. What is that something missing in their quest for happiness? Why they cannot find happiness? Instead of finding happiness, what they are finding is play. What they are finding is amusement, enjoyment, not really happiness. Then they try to be celebrity, thinking again that by becoming famous, by becoming a celebrity, life will be happy. Then they go into musical industry, becoming singer, becoming famous, becoming a celebrity. Then some are going into movie and TV industry. And there are still many going into sports and becoming sports celebrities. And in spite of all these things, you can still find people who are not happy in becoming a celebrity. There are those celebrities who ended up in suicide. So, it only means that they are not happy. Now, what are the obstacles to happiness? Why, in spite of all those quests for happiness, people are failure? Why? What are the obstacles to happiness? Number one obstacle to happiness: absence of a strong iman. Iman meaning, for our non-Muslim viewers, Iman meaning belief or believing or a belief system. Iman. The number one reason why people cannot find happiness is the absence of Iman. You know, there are studies conducted by scholars about why people cannot find happiness. Among the European groups, research groups, they are trying to find out those people, what make them happy or unhappy. And from their findings, it is becoming clear, although those people conducting the research are not religious people, they are academic people. They are finding from their studies that most of those people who are happy, most of those people who are living a happy life, are those people who live according to the mandate of their belief system. Whatever belief system, whatever religious belief system they belong, they find out from their studies that most of those people who are happy are those people who have the belief. Because they have the belief, they have the inclination to have hope in life. They are hopeful in life. They the believers. Now, if those believers in whatever religion they belong are living a happy life, how about the true believers in the belief system brought to us by the prophets, by the messengers of the Almighty Allah, the believers of the oneness of Allah, the believers of living a life of submission to the Almighty Allah, the so-called Islamic belief system. If those people, no matter what belief system they belong, are living a happy life, much more those people who are in the right belief system. As a proof of this claim, there are also another studies conducted by these people, non-Muslim people. They are conducting those studies and they are finding out that the Muslims, most particularly Muslims in the Middle East region, are the happiest people on earth. Yep. There are studies today conducted by the non-Muslims in Europe and Western communities. They are conducting studies and they are finding out that the most happy people, most contented people on earth are those people in the Middle East, the Muslim believers. In spite of all the sufferings that they are encountering today, their countries are being, their cities are being bombed. Their countries are being invaded by the imperialist countries, by the superpowers. In spite of the genocides, in spite of the massacres being done to those Muslims in the Middle East, in spite of murders and whatever crimes done against them, still, according to research groups, they are the most happy people on earth. Why? Because of the belief system that they are adopting into their life. Believing. Now, when a person has no belief, life is both meaningless and miserable every day. Just look at the people in Europe, the most developed countries, the most advanced countries in Europe and America, including some countries in Asia, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, and others. You can find from among these well-developed countries that the number of suicides is increasing every year. It only follows that among these well-developed countries, prosperous countries, they work very hard every day. They are finding prosperity every day. They are developing their communities every day with infrastructures, with material, with technology. So much development in their countries. But in spite of all this material progress, there is emptiness in their existence. They feel the emptiness of life because they do not believe. Most of those people who do not believe, they live a life of meaningless existence, and they live a life of miserable existence every day. Because your life, when you are lacking the belief system, your life every day is devoid of salvation, devoid of mercy of the Almighty Allah. When the existence of a human being is lacking of mercy from the Creator of the universe, He who created the universe, the entire universe, this universe consisting of billions of galaxies, and each galaxies consisting of hundreds of billions of stars, this gigantic universe, the Creator of this universe, He knows exactly how to make life happy, how to make life meaningful, how to make life blessed. And He gives us the messengers, the prophets, in order to educate us on how to live a good life, a happy life. But if in spite of the guidance given to us by the prophets, by the messengers, you remain unbeliever, of course, your life is miserable. The verse is very clear, chapter 6, verse 125. From the glorious Quran. Ba'da أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فمن يرد الله أن يهديه يشرح صدره للإسلام ومن يرد أن يضله يجعل صدره ضيقا حرجا كأنما يصعد في السماء كذلك يجعل الله الرجس على الذين لا يؤمنون. Chapter 6, verse 125, more or less in English rendering. This verse is telling us that if you live a life of no belief, your life is like a cursed life. You are living in an environment where the wrath and anger of Allah is punishing the people. Living a community of curse from Allah, wrath and anger of the Almighty Allah, a community of disbelievers. More or less in English rendering. And whomsoever Allah wills to guide, whoever He wants to guide, He opens His breast to Islam. He opens His heart to understand and embrace Islam. And whomsoever He wills to send astray, He makes His breast closed and constricted, as if He is climbing up to the sky. Thus Allah puts the wrath on those who believe not. Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah. Do you see how difficult life is when there is no belief? Just imagine to climb a building. For example, 100-floor building, 100-story building. And from the first floor up to the rooftop, you climb up, not through the elevator, but through the stairs. 100 floors through the stairs. After 50 floors, you cannot move your legs. After 70 floors, you cannot move your body. How about 90 floors, 100 floors, 200 floors, 1,000 floors? Your life is very difficult and becoming more difficult every day. The difficulty, the intensity, the suffering, the torture, like of that climbing the sky. The ayah says, he makes his breast closed and constricted as if he is climbing up to the sky. Thus Allah puts the wrath on those who believe not. Because of the absence of believing, your life is difficult for you to find happiness. The academic groups today, scientific groups, medical groups today, they are trying to find out why those people who live a life of believing, they live with a belief system, why are those people are happy even in spite of their poverty? They live in environment of poverty and still they are happy. And those people progressively, materially, they are prosperous. They have almost everything, advanced technology. They have the material development in their countries, in their cities. And yet their life is lonely. Depression is their number one disease. Whereas in the community, full of poverty. But because they believe, and they have hope, and no matter what calamities, personal calamities they are experiencing every day, still they are happy. Because of the belief system. Now, to live a life of no iman is a life of no happiness. Yes, you can find enjoyment. Yes, of course, with your money, you can buy enjoyment, you can buy fun, you can buy play, you can buy amusement. But you cannot buy happiness. Obstacle number 2. We move on to the obstacle number 2. The second reason why people are unhappy. Second reason why people are so much lonely and depressed in life. Number 2 reason. To live a life full of sins. A sinful living. Yes, this is the number 2 reason why you cannot find happiness. The commitment of sin has an effect in your everyday life. But those people who love committing sin, they do not see the reality of what is going on after committing a sin. They do not see the effects, the evil effects of committing sin. They only see the satisfaction, the gratification of their desires, carnal desires, their urge to do evil passions. They are only concerned about how to fulfill their enjoyment, their search for play and amusement, and they do not see the impact, the effects of those commitment of sins, the effects of those sinful living into their actual life. Now, no matter how luxurious your life is, you might be living a luxurious life with cars, money, living in mansions, everything. You have bank accounts, big bank accounts. You have private properties, and etc. But no matter how luxurious life is, look at this and take note of this. Your commitment of sin makes your everyday miserable. The verse is very clear, chapter 83, verse 14. كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون. Nay, but on their hearts is the run. Run. What is a run? The run which they used to earn. What does it mean by run? This is Arabic term. A run. The run. Every time that you commit a sin, there is a black dot. A black dot is being dotted to your heart. Every time you commit a sin, there is a black dot being dotted to your heart. And the number of dots increases. But if you stop your doing of evil acts, and you stop doing sin, and you repent, and you reform yourself, you change your way, you ask the forgiveness of the Almighty Allah, then the Almighty Allah will erase the black dots and return your heart into its purified state. But when you return to committing of sin, and you don't care about the effects of the sin, and you return to doing it, then the number of dots increases until finally, completely, your heart is blackened by dots. And that is what the ayah is saying. As an evidence, there is the hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, more or less in English rendering, when a slave, meaning when a person, when a slave commits a sin, meaning any evil deed, any actions of transgressions, moral transgressions to the will of the Almighty Allah, any kind of act offending the Lord, the Almighty Allah, that is called a sin. We will repeat reading. When a slave commits a sin, a black dot is dotted on his heart. Then if that person gives up that evil sin, begs Allah to forgive him, and repents, then his heart is cleared. But if he repeats the evil deed, then that covering is increased till his heart is completely covered with it. And that is a run which Allah mentioned in the Quran. Kalla bal rana ala qulubihim ma kanu yaksibun. No, but on their hearts is the run which they used to earn. Brothers and sisters in Islam, the reason why you are committing sins and you do not stop yourself committing sins, the number one reason why you do not stop yourself committing sins, and this is one of the major obstacles to your happiness, committing of sin continuously, living a sinful life, the reason why you're doing it continuously, repeatedly doing it, the reason is because you have no idea. You don't know. You have no idea of the bad effects of committing sin. Yes. You have no idea what are the impacts, what are the effects of committing sin to your life. We are not talking about hereafter. We are talking about present life, your present life. How does the commitment of sin affect your life? Present life. And when you do not understand, when you do not know, when you have no idea, when you do not understand the evil of sin, the effects of committing sin, you will not stop doing it. And because you will not stop doing it, what will happen? What are the effects? So, we will now enumerate to you some of the effects of committing sin, which are all contributing to the reason why you are not happy. If only you know the effects of the sin that you are committing, you will immediately stop what you are doing now. Now, we will enumerate to you what are those effects of committing sin. Number one, we are now using the reference of Shaykh Ibn al-Qayyim. May Allah have mercy on him. The number one effect of sin in your life, you are committing sin every day. Morning, noon, afternoon, evening, lifetime, committing sin. And you do not see what is happening to your life. Now, we will now define to you, we will give you the portrait of what is happening to your life because of the commitment of sin. Number one effect that you don't see, but you are experiencing it. Number one effect of committing sin. Because of sins, blessings are moving away from you. Blessings. Good things in life. Sometimes blessings are coming to your way. Sometimes there are blessings coming to your life, to your career. But because of your continuous commitment of sins, the blessings are diverted into another place. We call it in Tagalog, malas. We call it in English, bad luck. In Islam, there is no malas. There is no bad luck. There is no good luck. In Islam, everything is a trial, a test. Either wealth or poverty, they are both a form of test. We already had discussed this somewhere in our past episodes. When you are committing a sin, the blessings which are supposed to be yours are being carried far away from you. Yes, the hadith is very clear to prove our statement. The hadith says the person is losing a blessing due to the sins he is committing. Our source, Hadith Ibn Majah, hadith number 4022. So don't ask yourself why your life today is becoming more difficult. Why your life today is devoid of blessings. You don't know, and you do not understand. One of the major reasons why your life is becoming difficult and the blessings are not coming to your way, why? Is because continuously you are doing those transgressions. You are offending your Lord. The Almighty Allah is the one holding the blessings. He is the one who makes decision to give to whom to give the blessings. But because every day you do things to offend the Almighty Allah, don't ask yourself why your life is miserable. But ask yourself, why are you still, after now, continuously doing those evil acts? Of which the results, making your life miserable. So don't ask why your life is miserable. Ask yourself, why up to now you are continuously doing the sins that you are doing every day? Effect number 2. the effect number 2. We are talking about the effects of committing sins, because the commitment of sins is one of those factors that causing you why you are not happy. Committing a sin is one of the factors leading you to live an unhappy life. Meaning to say, commitment of sin is one of the obstacles to happiness. Now, we are now enumerating those effects of committing sins. Number 2 effect. You don't care about your Lord. Yes? You don't care about halal and haram, permissible and prohibited. You don't care about the people you love. You don't care about hurting your loved ones. You don't care about offending your parents, offending your husband, offending your wife, offending your children. You care only one thing: to gratify, to satisfy the urge to evil desires. You see? Because of your commitment of sins, continuously doing these transgressions, you no longer care about your Lord. You don't care about the hereafter, because you do not believe anymore. You don't care about punishment in the hellfire. You don't care about reward in the paradise. You don't care about life. You don't care about what happened to your life. What is important to you is now to get what you want to get. Because of you don't care of your loved ones. You don't care about hurting your loved ones, your husband, your wife, your children, your parents. Then little by little, you are developing a distance between you and your loved ones, so that eventually, finally, it will lead into a broken marriage, divorce, and it will lead to unhappiness, of course. They didn't care about what will happen to their life. They only care of one thing: to satisfy the carnal desire. They have no restrictions. They have no regulations of how they live. They didn't care. When the traffic control, when those cars on the street are no longer following the traffic rules and regulations, the tendencies are there will be accidents. There will be mortal accidents. The same also with life. We are given by the Almighty Allah the way on how to live a good life. He sent us messengers, prophets, in order to guide us how to live a good life, to restrict our life, to regulate our living. There are do's and don'ts in life. There are regulations. But if you don't follow the regulations, and instead of following the regulation, instead of obeying the regulations, instead of submitting to the will of the Almighty Allah, you are continuously every day submitting yourself to the evil desires, then the results are your life is miserable every day. Number 3 effect of committing sin in life. You will see every day how you live a difficult life, but you don't change your way. You don't repent. You don't ask the forgiveness of the Almighty Allah. You don't reform yourself. You just continue becoming a slave of your evil desires. You don't consider about reforming your life, doing a repentance, doing a tawbah, asking the forgiveness of the Almighty Allah, and moving yourself away from the community of sinful living in order that you can start a new life, a new beginning to improve your life. No. You see every day the difficulty of living, but you don't make an effort to change it, to reform your life. You don't make an effort to reform your existence. You just obey and obey every day. You don't care. You don't care who gets hurt. You don't care who gets offended. What is important to you is drinking liquor, using drugs, womanizing, illicit affairs, gambling, illegal means of living, and a lot of those things that will earn you the anger, the wrath of the Almighty Allah, causing you His wrath, His curse, and of course your life becomes miserable. Number 4 effect of committing a sin. Every time that there comes a blessing, every time that there comes an opportunity for you, something happened to cut off the blessing. Something happened to cut off the opportunity. Every time that a blessing is coming to your way, every time that there is an opportunity, suddenly something comes to block your way. Something comes to deny you, to reject you, to refuse you. Allahu Akbar. This is what is happening today. And you are experiencing this every day. You have been refused. You have been rejected. You have been denied of opportunities, of blessings, because of your continuous commitment of sin, and yet you don't change your life. You don't reform yourself. You don't act to ask the forgiveness of the Almighty Allah so that your living will be blessed. Obstacle number 3. Obstacle number 3. So we are enumerating to the obstacles, and we are also enumerating to the effects of the obstacles. The reasons why you cannot find happiness. You have been trying to find happiness ever since, but until now you cannot find happiness. Yes, by the way, how do we define happiness? What is the difference between happiness and enjoyment? Happiness and amusement. Happiness and fun. Happiness and play. What is the difference between these? Okay, we will give you a scenery in order to make it to you clear the difference between happiness and amusement. Happiness and enjoyment. Two people, male and female, man and woman, not husband and wife, entering a motel room to do an illicit act, so-called adultery. We call it in Islam, we call it in Arabic, zina, adultery. During the moments, 30 minutes, 1 hour or 2 hours, maximum 4 hours. During the moments of intercourse, sexual intercourse, they are experiencing fun, play, and amusement, enjoyment, but they are not experiencing happiness. That is not happiness. You cannot call it happiness. Why? Because while they are doing the act, at the back of their mind, they are anxious. And they are being reproached by their conscience. And not only that, the acts will be repeated once more. They will be having meetings once more. Again and again, it will be repeated until finally they will be caught in the act. If the woman has a husband and the man has a wife, the scandal will explode, and the scandal will produce either murder or divorce. The scandal will end either in bullet or in divorce. So this is not happiness. How could you call it a happiness? Plus the punishment in the hellfire. What they are doing is illicit affairs. What they are doing is a major sin. It is a mortal sin. They will be punished to the fire of hell. And before going to the life hereafter, in this dunya, in this world, they will be punished by the torture of their conscience. Now, two persons, man and woman, husband and wife, entering the same room and doing the same act, intercourse. While they are doing the act of intercourse, they are experiencing happiness, and they will be rewarded with paradise, and they are peaceful with what they are doing. There is no reproach of what they are doing, because what they are doing is halal. The man is halal to his wife, the wife is halal to the husband. What they are doing is rewarded with paradise. What they are doing is blessed, a blessed relationship. Sexual intercourse between a husband and wife is to be rewarded with paradise, because a sexual intercourse between a man and a woman, not husband and wife, will be rewarded with punishment in the hellfire. So the same act will be rewarded either paradise or the reward of the hellfire. So the second act, man and woman, husband and wife, doing the same act of intercourse, is happiness. Because it is a happiness in this world, and it is also a happiness in the hereafter. Do you see the difference between the two? Now we move on to obstacle number 3. Obstacle number 3. We are referring to obstacle to happiness. The number 3 obstacle to happiness: fear of worldly power instead of fear of the Almighty Allah. Instead of taqwa meaning fear of Allah, instead of a fear of Allah, you replaced it with fear of worldly things. We will give you example to demonstrate clearly our concept. We go back to husband and wife example. The man is physically capable and financially also capable to marry 2, 3, or 4 wives. Because in Islam it is permissible for a man. And the purpose of marrying 2 or 3 or 4 wives, the very purpose of this is not carnal desires, but to help women, to help the helpless women, the widows with children. How could you help them so that they could live a comfortable life with their children? Most particularly those helpless widows. most particularly those widows with no talents, with no higher education. How could they survive? Mostly in the city. So, men with financial capacities are commanded by the Almighty Allah in the Holy Quran to marry 2 or 3 or 4. But if you cannot give justice, but if you are afraid that you cannot give justice, then marry only 1. So the condition is, if you are not capable to give justice, then marry only 1. Now, since you have the capability to give justice, you have the capability financially, you have the capability physically to help those women, those helpless women, to help them, to serve them, to give them good future, most particularly the future of their children, by way of marrying them, marrying those women, then that is the command of the Almighty Allah. But your wife tells you, okay, if you marry another woman, I will hire a gunman to kill you. Allahu Akbar. And you are afraid of your wife. Instead of afraid to your Lord Almighty Allah, instead of fearing the Almighty Allah, you fear your wife. And you obey your wife. And you disobey your Lord Almighty Allah. The result? Results. Number 1, there are 3 results. If you, instead of fearing Allah, you fear somebody else. This is one factor leading to unhappiness. Instead of fearing the Almighty Allah, you don't fear Him. You're afraid of somebody else. The result, number 1, destruction and humiliation. The Almighty Allah will give you destruction. The Almighty Allah will give you a humiliating chapter of your life. Humiliation. How many people, today, how many people are experiencing destruction and humiliation? They do not know that the reason, because instead of fearing the Almighty Allah, they don't fear Allah. They are fearing of something else. We go into political scenery. After portraying to you the husband and wife scenery concerning fear of Allah and fear of wife, now we go into the global political scenery. We go to the political leaders, Muslim political leaders, world leaders. We are referring to the world leaders. Now, instead of these Muslim political leaders, instead of fearing the Almighty Allah, instead of expressing their fear of the Almighty Allah, they are not afraid of Allah. Instead, they fear the superpowers, the Western and European superpowers. And they commit sin. They continuously transgress the law of the Almighty Allah. They continuously live a life of disobedience to the Almighty Allah. And they are not considering the fear of the Almighty Allah. They are only considering the fear of the superpower. What will happen? Number 1 result, destruction and humiliation. Number 2 result, losing security in life. Now look at what is happening today in the Muslim world, most particularly Middle East countries. When the Muslims continuously live a life of no fear of the Almighty Allah, instead fear of His enemies, the Almighty Allah, as mentioned in the Hadith Qudsi, the Almighty Allah will use the enemies of Islam, will use the disbelievers to punish the Muslims, to punish, to destroy, and humiliate the Muslims. Look at what is happening today in Iraq. The Muslims in Iraq, the Muslims in Libya, the Muslims in Palestine, the Muslims in Syria, the Muslims in Tunisia, the Muslims everywhere. They are being humiliated. Why? Continuously, they are offending the Almighty Allah. They fear much more the enemies of Allah than they fear the Almighty Allah. And so the Almighty Allah is using the disbelievers to punish the Muslims, to humiliate the Muslims, so that the Muslims will reflect, so that the Muslim world will wake up and will suddenly realize that the reason why they are being punished is because they disobey and continuously disobey the Almighty Allah. And number 3 result of, instead of fear of Allah, fear of something else. Number 3 result, having no happiness. Whereas if you educate yourself to live a life of fear of the Almighty Allah, He will make your status, He will make your situation, He will make your life easier to handle every day. He will make your problems easy to solve. When you live a life of fear, taqwa, when you live a life of taqwa, fear of Allah, then He will make your life easier and more comfortable to handle. In spite of all the difficulties that you are experiencing in life, in spite of all the miserable situation that you are experiencing in life, if you live a life of taqwa, fear of Allah, He will make it easy for you, your affairs every day. Where is the evidence? Chapter 65 verse 4, Quran al-Karim, glorious Quran. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِ يُسْرًا. And whosoever fears Allah and keeps his duty to Him, He will make his matter easy for him. Do you see that? When you live a life full of taqwa, you are living a life of taqwa, fear of the Almighty Allah. No matter how difficult you are experiencing, no matter what kind of personal calamities you are having, the Almighty Allah will make it easier for you to live a good life. In other words, there is no happiness in life if instead of fear of Allah, you are afraid of something else. Now, due to the absence of happiness, what are the results? Because you are now living a life of no happiness, then what are the results? We will give you 10 results. 10 results. And the final result, number 10 result, suicide. Yep. Just listen. The number 10 result is suicide. So we will enumerate to you. Because of the absence of happiness, just like what is happening today in the European communities and Western communities as well, the rate of suicide is increasing, and it is alarming. It is increasing every year, the rate of suicide. Now, we will enumerate to you what will happen to you if you will not change your way and you will not be striving to find true happiness. What will happen to your life if your life is devoid of happiness? Number 1, result: depression. Depression. This is the number 1 disease on earth by mankind. Depression. And because of depression, what will you do? Number 2, we are referring to those people who live without believing. People who do not believe. People without a belief system. And even with those people who believe, their belief system is very thin. What they do? When there is depression, what do they do? They will go to beer house. They will buy liquor. They will go to alcohol. They will take liquor. They will take alcohol, thinking that liquor is the solution. When they wake up in the morning, the same problem is there. The problem did not disappear last night. So liquor does not make the problem disappear, but liquor, according to medical research, liquor destroys your brain cells. It destroys your memory power. It destroys your reasoning capacity. Because when the brain cells are destroyed, it affects your reasoning power, your understanding, your cognitive power. Now, after liquor, and still you do not find happiness, after liquor, what will you do? Number 3, you will go to drugs, and you will become drug addict. You will become drug dependent. If liquor destroys the brain cells, drugs destroys your life. Yes. How many people are being destroyed by drugs? Either you're a drug lord, or you're a drug pusher, or you're a drug user. Your life eventually will be destroyed. Either you will go to the jail, or you will go to the rehabilitation center, or you will go to the cemetery. 3 destinations for you. In drugs, in the world of illegal drugs, either to the jail, to the rehabilitation center, or to the cemetery. If you will not reform yourself, if you do not change yourself, these are the 3 possible destinations are waiting for you. Now, aside from alcohol and drug addiction, number 4, result of no happiness, you will bring yourself, you will recourse into haram relations or illicit affairs or illegal sexual intercourse. Then because of these illicit affairs and you have multiple partners, sexual partners, the result, number 5, you will develop into your body sexually transmitted diseases, gonorrhea, syphilis, HIV virus, AIDS. According to the latest statistics, United Nations latest statistics on HIV virus, most of the victims are young people. And the number is now so much increasing, most particularly in the Philippines. Metro Manila and Cebu are the most areas contaminated by HIV virus. Now, number 6 result. Because of that illicit affairs, illegal sexual intercourse, the result, number 6, you will be helping the production of bastard children. There will be increasing number of bastard children, illegitimate children. And because of this situation, liquor, drugs, illicit affairs, HIV virus, then the result will be number 7. broken marriages, broken families, painful divorce. And when there are broken marriages, what is the result number 8? Troubled children. Troubled children. Broken dreams, broken plans in life, destroying their future, destroying the children's future. And because of all this torture in your life, the torture of liquor, the torture of drugs, the torture of illicit affairs, the torture of broken marriages. Number 9, result, mental sufferings. You will be having mental sufferings, and you will be having unbearable mental sufferings, and you cannot bear it every day. The intensity is increasing every day until finally, result number 10, suicide. You are a rich man. You are guarded, heavily guarded by armed men. You are a rich man. You are heavily guarded. Nobody can touch you. No assassin can touch you. But you yourself pull the trigger and explode your brain. Blast your brain. Killing yourself in suicide. Do you see the effects, my friend, of what we are discussing to you? All your life, you have been deceived by the glitter of this world, and you do not notice it, and you are little by little destroying yourself until finally you commit the final act, the suicide. Yes, you have been deceived, and you do not see it. You do not like to see it. You have been given the opportunity to see the situation of your life, but you do not change it. You do not reform it. And you do not recognize that you are being deceived by this word. Chapter 6, verse 130. وَغَرَّتْهُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. It was the life of this world that deceived them. If you really like to live a happy life, first step, accept to your heart, understand to your mind, the believing in the oneness of the Almighty Allah. We are inviting you. If your life is in trouble, and if you're experiencing no happiness in life, why don't you contact that number in your screen? That is our personal contact number. You call it, you contact us, and we will help you find happiness. This is the program, Islam is the Solution. Live on digital TV every Monday, English edition, 2 to 3 p.m. Manila time, and every Thursday, 2 to 3 p.m. Manila time for Tagalog edition. It is live on YouTube at Elizalde Broadcasting. This is yours truly, Salem Guimba. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. And again, a greeting of peace to those who believe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.